Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. So, on my main channel, I tend to specify specific things that avoidants do to help you guys build romantic relationships with an avoidant partner, or if you are avoidant, so you can have more self awareness. Today, we're going to talk about something a little bit different, which is why it's going to be on my second channel. I want to talk about the reasons why avoidants tend to test their partner based on their perception of what causes an end to a relationship. It's a little boring, which is why I put it on this channel. A lot of people on my main channel, it's quite a bit larger. Both channels are still small, but that one's larger, and that one attracts more people who just want quick answers on how to connect with their partner in a more loving way. This channel is a little bit more detailed in that regard, so it can be a little like boring, which is, some people called it boring. I'm just using that word because you guys did, and it's not an offensive word to me. I don't care. But I'm going to talk about like the predictions in their mind that they think causes an end to a relationship, which is why they continuously test to make sure this is not happening. Does that make sense? So it's like they feel that if certain behaviors show up in the relationship, it'll cause the relationship to fail, and they're afraid of failure. So I'm not saying this is always the case with every single avoidant, but this is very common, okay? They have an internal fear that relationships will end someday. And so that is actually the source of their testing. They want to see if the relationship has all the things that they think is the formula for the relationship to end. Because if it does, that means they're going to leave before it ends, because in their mind, they're so afraid of failure. And so they think, if I test this relationship, then I at least can get ahead of my own failure. But if they don't test it and they fail, they're going to blame themselves and say, wow, I can't believe you didn't test this. This is your fault the relationship failed. So for an example, I'm going to give a non-relationship example so you guys get what I'm talking about. If you're taking a test and you didn't double check it, and then you get the answers back and you realize you knew some of the answers, and if you had just double checked it, you would have got those right. But now let's say you got a failing score. That's how avoidants feel with relationships. Maybe the relationship failed and they look back and they're like, wow, I could have predicted that relationship would have failed. I knew it. Why didn't I just leave sooner? Or why didn't I just say something sooner? That's why they test you. It's not because necessarily they're trying to manipulate you. A lot of times it's because of that particular emotion, okay? So this can be a little triggering, which is also why I'm putting it on my second channel, just because this video, the people who watch my second channel, you guys are like, you already follow my main channel, so this is not like going to pop up necessarily on your feed, and you're just going to click this and be very confused and not know what's going on or be shocked or hurt. And I don't want that to deter you away from relationships with avoidance if you have that person in your life and you think that it's all negative, right? Because this video is going to be definitely more on the negative side. And so that's why I'm putting it on my second channel. Because my first channel, I get random viewers all the time. I think most people who view my videos are not even subscribers. So it's just people who are just clicking my videos coming out of nowhere. And so I put more positive things on there. I try to, not all the time, but definitely I try to. So if you want anything specific about the specific tests that avoidants do, I have plenty of videos on my main channel. I actually made one today, and I'm going to post it. I'm not sure when I'm going to post that one, but you'll definitely see it on my channel. So this is just the internal beliefs avoidants have to which they test, okay? The behaviors that they think will cause an end to a relationship. It doesn't mean this is true. I don't want you guys to think that this is the truth. This is their belief, right? Remember that they have an insecure attachment, and so they believe things about relationships that are not necessarily true. They don't realize that you can save relationships even if they have these issues, right? That's why avoidants leave so easily, because they think relationships that have this are unsavable. They're afraid that it is, right? Just so we talked about the test thing. They feel it's almost like they give up preemptively. If they realize this test is going to be too hard, okay, I might as well not take it, or I might as well quit while I'm ahead so I don't see that I get the big F on the exam. I might as well just leave and get a 0 because I know I got a 0 because I left, not because I myself studied so hard and I still got like a 2%, right? That's their mentality. Is it healthy? Of course not, right? But let's go ahead and talk about what behaviors they think end a relationship, which predicts a lot of their tests. A lot of these fears are where their tests come from. So they believe that the first behavior that they think ends relationships is when a person, either person, has a constant need for rehashing disagreements. Avoidants are terrified of this Terrified, they probably wouldn't use that word. I know, I used to be one. I wouldn't use the word terrified back then, but it's almost like it's really frustrating and it's a lot and you don't know what to do. But actually deep inside it comes from a fear. It does. If you start healing more, you'll start realizing that is what fear feels like. Fear is not, oh my God, there's a gator in my kitchen, let me call animal control. That's fear too, but there's also another kind of fear, and this is kind of what that fear is, right? Avoidants feel like if a person has a constant need for rehashing the conversation or disagreement, they feel like the relationship's going to be all negative, or it's all going to be work. It's just work. It's not happy. It's not fun. It's not lighthearted. It's not going to add to their life. That doesn't mean the relationship in of itself has to always be lighthearted and fun, but in their mind, avoidance, whether you guys believe this or not, life is already hard for all of us. And I think there's a myth, more particular with like male avoidance or men in general, that they want somebody who like causes them like distress and drama, or is like hard to get or difficult. There's a word, I forgot what it is. I might remember it and then tell you guys later, but it's basically like they fall in love with like stress, if you like are stressful for them. And maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know, but I've never seen that with avoidance, okay? They don't like that. They like more like predictable, relaxed, calm relationships. And if the relationship is constantly like rehashing or having these disagreements, they really feel that this is going to be a relationship that probably is not valuable. So if they see this, they typically leave or they start looking at tests. And the way they're testing this one is they're going to test, how do you behave if I say I want to exit the argument? How do you behave when I say I need space from the relationship? How do you behave when I, accidentally crash out in an argument? These are where the tests are coming from. You see, the original fear is they think that constant need for rehashing is going to cause the relationship to break up. So now you're seeing all the little stems of where their tests are coming from. It's coming from this fear. And there are plenty of fears that they have that create these little tests in their mind, but this is just an example, okay? The next one is the inability to appreciate things from a different angle. They feel like this is a source of failure in a relationship. And a lot of these are justified. Like a lot of them have a lot of validity to them. It's just they're more afraid of them than another person, because a secure person will think, okay, if this is a problem, we can talk it out, we can fix it. Avoidants don't think that's possible, which is why they're testing to see what's going to happen. Is this going to fall on top of me? Is this going to ruin the relationship? Am I going to be the failure that I didn't see this the first time? And so they want to see, are you able to appreciate things from a different angle? If you guys don't follow each other's trend emotionally completely all the time, are you okay with that? Can you live with that? Or are you going to try and change them? Can they live with you? This is also about them. Can they live with you having a different opinion and angle from them? Because if they can't live with you, that's also failure of the test, right? In their mind. They want to see, can you guys both appreciate things from a different angle? Like, can that really happen? Can you guys still agree to disagree every now and again? Do you guys always have to be on the same page? And so they might test you in this way. They might hear how you react when they disagree. They might hear how you react when another person disagrees. And so they're paying attention to these behaviors. The next one is anybody who needs a constant need for attention. Avoidants have this belief in their mind that anybody who needs a constant need for attention will fail in relationships. I'm not telling you that this is true, by the way. I'm not saying that. But they have a belief like this, which is why they don't like to have a constant need for relationships, and they believe anybody like this is not going to have a healthy relationship, so they run away from this. Where did this come from? When they were younger, anytime that they needed some sort of attention from their parent, what do you think their parent did? Their parent reprimanded them and told them, you got to do it by yourself. And they would say, I'm not going to help you. I want you to get it by yourself. And so they were taught anything that has a need from another person means the relationship is starting to become sour. If they always said, hey, dad, watch me do this or watch me do that, or look, I got a B+, and their dad says, a B+? Where's your A+? Like, what's going on? This is nothing. I don't want to see this. Where's your A+? Do it yourself, and you don't need to show me, right? And so the kid is like, oh, I just ruined the relationship by asking for attention. Let me, this is a kid. So they're like, okay, the way to get my dad's approval is just to be, on my own, getting good grades and doing whatever I need to do, right? Let's say the dad wants their kid, or mom. I'm just picking on dads today. I have nothing against dads or moms, right? Let's just say the dad is saying, hey, you want to be a track star or whatever it is, right? Why aren't you running every day? Why aren't you doing what you need to do? Maybe you're saying, oh, you're the kid. The dismissive avoidant kid is like, oh, my knees hurt. The parent might say, okay, suck it up, buttercup. Let's do this. And so the constant need for attention is a sign of relationships going to dissolve. A very common example that I see with mothers, okay? And to be honest, my mom was like this, so I can relate to this to some extent. The mother always needed that attention. And I remember feeling like that was ruining my perception of her because she always, always, always needed like attention, like always. And it was very hard for me to see her as someone I could respect when I was a kid. And I know that sounds horrible because she was always, always emotional, always emotional. And that was something that I think also caused me to become dismissive avoidant, if I'm being honest, or avoidant in general. Like, I think this happens with avoidance. And so they have this really interesting relationship with the need for attention. And so anytime they see someone who really needs attention all the time, they think, okay, let me back up. I don't think we need to do this, right? Like, that's going to dissolve this relationship. All this means is that we're just going to have to work harder to save this relationship, and I don't think I can do it. And so this is something that they feel like is this predicts an end of a relationship. So they might test and see, how do you act when you need attention? Can you ask me in a way where it's more clear for me to understand? Can you be patient with me? They start checking those things. The next one is they have a belief where one partner or both, that if they feel like too superior of another, that they feel like the relationship's going to end, even if the avoidant feels more superior than you. So let's say you feel like you're more superior because you're like more emotional. I've seen this, believe it or not. The avoidant is like so detached, they don't care. Avoidant individuals think, okay, you see me as so low compared to you because I have this issue. Instead of trying to build me up, you put me down. We won't work because you see us as very different. Vice versa, if they feel like they cannot respect you, they also feel like the relationship's not valuable because they see you as somebody that they can't respect. So it's hard for them to build that relationship, right? We were giving the example of me and my mom, where it was, even though she's my mother, but still, it's hard for me to respect her because she was always emotional all the time. Everything was always something that she had to stick on, that she had to hold on to, anytime, I remember if I said like any word and it wasn't even the way she wanted it, she would make a scene about it and like be upset. And I was never good with words. Anyone who watches my channel, y'all know I'm not good with words. I'm just not. They're not for me. I don't know how to translate those emotions as well. And that's always the way I've been. And so it was hard for me to see her as an equal, which is really bad because I was her kid. And it's embarrassing for me to admit this. And I try not to be this type of person, but I used to struggle with that a lot. I used to not see her equal. Like, I didn't feel like I could rely on her because she had that behavior. And avoidants don't like feeling like this. It feels really bad. And so they're not going to want to be in a relationship with somebody if they feel that way. So that's part of what they predict is like a failure in a relationship. And so they test that in that way. They watch, are you going to put them down when they make a mistake? Do they feel like you can earn your own respect, like you respect yourself, or do you not respect yourself? And so they think that this will end a relationship because of the way things that happened in their childhood. Me, for example, but a lot of avoidants have that example. A lot of my patients, they have a parent like that, where it's really hard for them to respect, or they were always, shunned because they were unemotional. They have that too. And so it's very hard for them to really know, shunned, being unemotional from like an ex or whatever. And they don't like that imbalance. So it's hard for them. The next one is they feel like this is a predictor of a relationship ending if the any person is unable to live in the current moment. That doesn't mean you never think of the future, but it does mean that you can appreciate the now, maybe even more so than the possible future, because now is now. And the reason why avoidants like to test this, I'm not saying testing is right or wrong, by the way, I'm just telling you, because they feel if you're always looking at the future, it's an expectation. It might not be, but that's their fear. And they feel like if you always are expecting and they're always expecting, you guys don't actually care about the current relationship. And that's just going to fail the relationship. You're never going to love them for who they are, and they're never going to love you for who you are. So they might as well just exit out because they feel like you can't handle the current self. They can't handle your current self. And so they're checking that compatibility. Are you able to live in the moment right now? That's very important. They also want to see, which is the next one, are you able to take the relationship slowly? They feel like a person who cannot take a relationship slow, that means a relationship will fail. Now, a lot of avoidance, almost everyone that's opened up to me about this particular thing in therapy, they always say the best, and they're a little, exaggerated, but the best and most romantic relationships are the ones that build slowly. And they might be right. I think there's some research on that, and they also, like, I agree with that too, but every person's different. There's research on both sides, so who really cares that much? But the ability to take relationships slow indicates to the avoidant we get to know each other, we get to fall in love, we get to really know if this is the right relationship. And if you are a person who cannot do that, they feel like it's going to be an end for the relationship. Now, this is the part where it might be a little bit negative. Avoidants tend to see relationships that move really quickly as a relationship that might be unstable, which is not true. Okay. That is not always the case, but they have a really negative belief about relationships, remember? And so if they're seeing, let's say their buddy has a girlfriend and now they're like, maybe they've been together for a year and now they're moving in together. Avoidance might think, oh, wow, that was really quick. That relationship's probably going to fail, right? That might not be the case. I've seen it happen and the relationship did not fail. But in their mind, they're like, that's really, really quick. That relationship's going to fail. You guys are not actually happy. And because they have that negative belief of relationships, if you are a person who's doing that while they're in a relationship with you, they think, oh, wow, if we do that, this relationship is going to fail. You and I are not compatible. And so they try and test to see, what's your perception of relationships and the speed of relationships? What's your perception of relationships? Are we meant to be together? Because avoidants have this very romantic thing in their mind. Are we meant to be or are we not meant to be? Are you the one? Are you the one I'm picking? Are you picking me? Is it intentional? They have these thoughts about love. Because the truth of the matter is, it's a defense mechanism or a limiting belief because they're afraid to take the risk. And so they put love on a very unique spot in their mind. They put it in a very specific way, I guess the best way to put it. The last one is that they think a person who has an inability to manage their own emotions internally is a recipe for disaster in relationships. Now, what does that mean? And how does that look in relationships? And what does that mean for testing? Avoidant individuals believe that if two people cannot manage their emotions, the relationship's going to be doomed no matter what. That's not true, but avoidants feel that way, right? Obviously, that's what therapy is for, or just connecting with others, whatever it is. But avoidants really, really feel like if you guys can't manage your emotions, that relationship is done. It's gone. It can never be saved. And they have that black and white thinking, typically, especially with this one. And so they always are testing any sort of emotional response with their partner. And it can be exhausting for them and for their partner. But this video is just information. I'm not really giving you guys specific ways to resolve this. I typically put that on my main channel. But this one's just for information, for you guys to realize what's really happening in the mind of an avoidant. But I know it's triggering. But I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.